All right, how's it going, ladies, gentlemen, and toasters? Hopefully, everyone's having a fantastic day, morning, whatever time of day it may be for you. This video is going to be a little bit different from my typical videos. It's not going to be a funny moments. It's not going to be a compilation of funny moments or my most recent stuff of YouTube shorts and a recording of a stream. This video is going to be one of the first videos of a new series, which we're right now calling Yap Vids. For now, it's a work in progress on the name. Okay, trust. This is basically going to be a series where I yap about specific topics that either I have opinions on or experience in or both. So this video is going to be about Pokemon, the long-awaited video that I've mentioned countless times on stream and mentioned countless times about uploading, but never did it because I didn't know how to go about it. I still don't. We're just gonna wing it. The reason why I chose this topic is because I have played most of the main series of Pokemon games, from Game Boy to DS to 3DS to even Switch. So my personal opinion is Pokemon is a dying brand. Now, granted, me growing up might have something to do with my opinion of Pokemon, but I don't think that's the case because, first of all, I'm a fucking man-child, and secondly, let's be real here. I still play them games. I've literally spent the last 3 days playing Pokemon Alpha Sapphire on 3DS again because it's just so fun. But so we're gonna start off with Game Boy games. Game Boy games is where I started my first Pokemon adventure. With Pokemon on Game Boy, I've played Pokemon Leaf Green, Fire Red, I think it was Pikachu Yellow. I think that's what it's called, but I've played Pokemon Yellow. I've played Blue and Gold. There's nothing bad to say about them. All right, they're your typical standard Pokemon games for Game Boy. Here's a little reference. This is what it used to look like. And it was so much fun. It was so much fun. The music was great. It was a fun experience, right? There's only one issue that I had with these Pokemon games, and it wasn't even necessarily the game itself. It's just that my Pokemon Gold, the cartridge got corrupted, so I couldn't save progress. It didn't save any progress whatsoever, so it kind of turned into more of a speed run. I would play just to see how far I could get before I had to get off, or my Game Boy was dying. And it was a great experience. It was a fantastic experience, really. But yeah, that was the only issue that I had with any of the Game Boy games. They were fucking lovely. Next, this is where it gets a little heated for me. Pokemon on DS. Now, I understand that there were countless games of Pokemon on DS. And the truth is, I loved most of them. The ones that I played anyway. So with the DS, I loved Pokemon Black and White. Those are two of my favorite Pokemon games ever. I wish they would make a remake of better graphics. Like, if they were to make it the graphics of the 3DS games, beautiful. If they make it like the Legends of Arceus, beautiful. But I'm still waiting. So I played Pokemon White and Black 2, Diamond and Pearl, Pokemon Rangers. That was another one of my top ones. And then I think that was it for DS that I played. I know that they made a couple of other ones, such as Pokemon Platinum and all that. I didn't like Diamond and Pearl. I didn't like it. Now, it's not necessarily the biggest of dislike for it. It's not like I absolutely hated it. There is one that I absolutely did hate that I will talk about later. But with Diamond and Pearl, the issue that I had with it, fire Pokemon. For starters, the story, not my thing. It wasn't that great, in my opinion. But Pokemon Diamond and Pearl had a serious lack of fire Pokemon. From my experience, obviously there was the fire starter that you could choose, but the issue is when I went back and played the game again with a different starter that I wanted to try, I spent, I think, like a year playing the game, and the only fire Pokemon I found was Ponyta and Growlithe. And they were only in one specific area, both of them. Those were the only fire Pokemon I could find. So I had a real big beef with that game because I love me some fire Pokemon. Love them. But like that was one of the biggest issues that I had experienced with them. Other than that, I mean, it was just your standard Pokemon game. Again, the story was a little bit for me personally, but I still enjoyed the game. I still played it a lot. I just didn't like it as much as the other games that came out for DS. Now, I heard that Pokemon Platinum fixed the issue of missing fire Pokemon and a couple of other issues that people experienced too that Diamond and Pearl had, but I've never played Pokemon Platinum. Loved Pokemon Black and White. They were beautiful games, beautiful soundtracks, fantastic soundtracks. The legendary Pokemon were awesome. And overall, it was just a fantastic experience. Probably, I want to say, one of my best experiences. Like, I went from playing the Game Boy games to playing Pokemon White, never looked back. Still haven't looked back. Haven't really played them. So that brings me to my next one, Pokemon Rangers. Now, Pokemon Rangers, I absolutely loved. It was a very interesting attempt by Pokemon, you could say, because they made a total of 3 games, I believe. And the thing is with these games is that they were so different because it mainly relied on the touchscreen. There was no ball throwing animation to catch Pokemon, and each Pokemon only had their specific use. So rather than constant battles and this and that, like your typical Pokemon experience, the Pokemon Rangers games had you capture Pokemon that were enraged by calming them down. So it's the feature of the stylus, and basically when you go to encounter Pokemon, they're on the bottom screen only, and they're attacking at nothing. And you have to take the stylus and draw circles around it until it's caught. And the thing is with that too is that like if the Pokemon attacks and the attack hits your stylus, it not only sets your progress back, but also takes some health from your stylus. So if it hits 0, you're done. But it was really, really unique to see something like that, where instead of throwing a ball like every other Pokemon game, you had to actually like circle the motherfucker to capture it. But not only that, but the Pokemon weren't used for battles per se. I mean, granted, you could still use them to help capture the angrier Pokemon or defeat the angrier Pokemon, I guess you could say, because there were battles, but it was like not really Pokemon fights. You capture them, and then as you traverse the world, you have to use specific types of Pokemon to do specific things. So electric Pokemon, their biggest thing was they can help regenerate your stylus health in case you damaged it or whatever. But also the cool part is that like, let's say you're traveling around and you encounter a tree that needs to be cut. What tells you, hey, you need a grass Pokemon that can use cut, or whatever Pokemon that could use. I believe it was grass Pokemon you typically. And the way that worked was you had to use that Pokemon to do it. And once you've done it, your Pokemon leaves. It's a one-time use. It's really cool. It's such a nice concept. But not only that, they had this feature with the God Pokemon. You gain the trust of the God Pokemon first, which I believe is the same as just like capturing a normal Pokemon. Except instead of them joining your party, they would run off. And then you would obtain the symbol to call them in. And you had to use the stylus to draw the symbol to call them in to use them. Both of them had their specific use. I believe one of them was jumping and then one of them was running, I want to say. I don't really remember the specifics. It's been a while. But it was such an interesting concept because rather than Pokemon only being used for battles, they were used to traverse, and obviously to traverse the world, but their only purpose was to traverse the world or assist you in capturing the other Pokemon. And rather than the ball throwing animation, you have to draw around them. And then also calling in God Pokemon just by drawing the symbol, which also was difficult. I'm not gonna lie, it was a little difficult because I'm no artiste. But basically, that was Pokemon Rangers. It was super cool. And also, where the fuck else? What other game do you get a Pokemon assistant that is a Pichu with a ukulele? Fire. That is where I stand with the DS games. I have almost nothing bad to say about the DS games. I have nothing bad to say about the Game Boy games, the 3DS games. Now, I loved most of them. There were 2 that I didn't like. So the ones that I loved was Pokemon Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby, as well as Pokemon X and Y. They were really good games, beautiful graphics, amazing graphics when battling. Pokemon Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby introduced the Mega Evolution. Now, the Mega Evolution is basically where you have a Mega Bracelet and you give a Pokemon a basically it's like a crystal with their specific, like it tells you which Pokemon you give it to, and basically what it does is it allows, when you're in a fight, you have this option to Mega Evolution, and what that does is it gives them a fourth evolution just for that one battle. It makes them a hell of a lot stronger. But it was so cool because up until now you have Pokemon that could their only amount of evolution was either 1, 2, or none, and that was it. But then this bracelet allows them to evolve again with a super cool form for half of them, and it was like I believe it was only for specific Pokemon, or at least those are the only crystals that I found. But like it was so cool because in mid fight you can pick one Pokemon, Mega Evolution, give it a whole new awesome form, and then you get to see it all over again the next fight. It was super cool. It was such a cool concept until they ruined it later on, but we will get into that later. Pokemon X and Y were so cool. Your main source of transportation is rollerblading, which is fire, but also you're able to call in Latios or Latias, depending on the game, to fly everywhere. You could literally just call them in, boom, you're flying around. And it was so awesome. The animation where they just fly in, you hop on them, it's obvious which one you're on, and then you can see all the specific animation for the clouds and such. Hold on, we're gonna put this in. It was such a beautiful game, such great graphics, awesome gyms. A lot of these games had really cool gyms, very creative gyms, but they all had really cool gyms. And so this brings me to the ones that I don't like. Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, my bad. I don't know why, I just didn't like them. The story, from what I played of it, because I just didn't enjoy the story. And from what I played of it, there was no specific group of bad guys, right? Every single game, specific group of bad guys. Your job, defeat them, win the game, as well as catch all the Pokemon and beat the gyms. But that's beside the point. Either way, one of the main goals is, hey, beat these guys. Sun and Moon, from what I played, didn't have them at all. I could be very mistaken. I'm only I think I only played like 3 hours of it, and I was like, yeah, no. But also, I didn't really like the Pokemon in that game. There were some obvious ones that are like between all generations, whatever. But I didn't like half. I don't think I liked half of the Pokemon that I encountered when I did play. But overall, I just didn't like them, and that was the start of the end for me. I played them, meh. I'm going to play through them further eventually. I did buy Pokemon Moon, but now this brings us to the Switch games. Straight shit from a butt. The reason why I say this is Pokemon Sword and Shield. It was the first ever game that came out on Switch. I specifically bought a Switch to play this game. It was alright. It wasn't good. It wasn't too bad, but it was kind of shit. For starters, they took Mega Evolution of Pokemon and turned them into Giga Pokemon. What the fuck? So they took cool ass animation for another evolution, made it big. Just big. Have them, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's been a while. They didn't even really look much different. They were just massive. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes, they were decent. I'm not gonna lie, they were decent. It did fix the issues that I did have with Diamond and Pearl 4DS, except they fucked up. They fucked up big time. Now, I get going for nostalgia, by all means, but they got a lot of backlash when they announced the game and showed gameplay of it because they went with a top-down old POV from, I believe, Game Boy games, I think it was. Or was Diamond and Pearl, yeah, it wasn't even that top-down. Like, it was still a little bit top-down, but it wasn't super top-down. But here's the thing, right? They made the character look like a fucking Goomba. Okay, you can't even see the guy. It's just a hat. Just hat and legs. And I get it. Again, going for nostalgia, that's perfectly fine. But the way they went about it was stupid. Because rather than making the graphics look kind of similar, they made it new graphics. Very pretty graphics for fights, kind of cartoony for the actual like gameplay, but the characters look stupid when you're running around. Stupid. That's just my opinion. That kind of it didn't necessarily kill the game for me. I still have plenty of hours on it. It just I didn't like it. I didn't like the fact that they went specifically for that style, I guess you could say. Now, Legends of Arceus, absolute masterpiece, cinema. I love the game. It was a great game, great story. I almost beat the game in the first time playing it. And the concept behind Legends of Arceus is, again, angered Pokemon. And it's a very interesting fight style, I guess. It's not necessarily just, oh, hey, fighting them. Because honestly, with that game, you kind of want to avoid fights as much as possible because they will fuck your Pokemon up. But so rather than being gyms, you would go fight this giant, pissed off Pokemon and you have to beat it. But the way you have to beat it is very interesting because you have to throw treats at it to kind of like calm it down so you can capture it or finish it off. And that motherfucker don't care. If you don't have a Pokemon out, he is swinging right at you. Unlike all these other games where it's, oh, hey, the Pokemon is attacking Pokemon. No. That motherfucker wants blood on you. You have to dodge the attacks. Because if that Pokemon hits you enough, it's basically just like losing all your Pokemon. You end up restarting. And it's crazy. It's such a fun game, such a fun concept. And that brings me to the last one that I've played. I have not played the newest two, Pokopia and Legend ZA. I want Legend ZA, but I'm kind of over dropping $70 on a Pokemon game for it to be mid. So I might eventually buy it. And I'm definitely not buying Pokopia just because, well, Pokopia looks like such a fun game. I'm not spending $500 on a Switch 2 and another $70 on Pokopia because I know that right now there are only two games that I want on Switch 2. Pokopia, Mario Kart World. It ain't worth dropping $500 for a Switch 2. Eventually, I might. But that's in a while. Okay, that's not going to be for a minute. Because even right now, I still kind of regret buying the Switch. That's just me, though. I'll explain why in another video. Pokemon, what is it? Scarlet and Violet. First of all, even for a Pokemon game where there's so much dialogue, that game's bad. They send you to the school for Pokemon. That shit's mid. I got it as a gift, played like an hour, said, nah, I'm good. But the graphics are like really cartoony, and I don't know. I feel like they just kind of lost the story for their own game. And I get like Pokemon stories, they're all kind of similar to each other in a way, in one way or another, just because like obviously you can only do the same thing so many times, but at the same time, if they try anything else, it doesn't work. Whatever. I get it. But that game, nah. I just didn't like it. Now, I get that these are just my opinions and my experiences with Pokemon. Obviously, feel free to share your opinions in the comments. I'm open to reading them. But the truth is, though, is that, like, in my opinion, the Legends series and Pokopia, they feel like just sad attempts to bring Pokemon back to light. Because all the other games that came out for Switch and Switch 2, well, actually, I suppose only two came out for Switch 2, and I haven't played either of them. But all the other games that came out for Switch were so fucking mid. I'm glad that the only one that I actually spent money on, actually the only two that I spent money on, kind of sad about one, is Legends of Arceus, and then unfortunately Diamond and Pearl remake. I did buy them. Not too happy about it, but it is what it is. I got my playthrough of it. So now this brings me to another point. I will be playing Pokemon games on stream and recording them eventually. The thing is with Scarlet and Violet, it was just mid. It was mid. So like it's good to see good Pokemon games still coming out, but it's like not that many. Compared to 3DS where you had banger and banger, DS where you had banger after banger after banger after banger, they were all good. All the DS ones were fucking good. 3DS, they slipped up in the end, but that's fine. But the thing is even the fan made games are fucking better than the new Pokemon games coming out. One of my personal favorites that I have played a little bit on stream and I will be starting a new game and playing through, as well as the second one that just came out, is Pokemon Infinite Fusions. Pokemon Infinite Fusions is a fan made game masterpiece. They took the story and the whole concept of previous Pokemon games and made it to where you can combine two Pokemon to make an absolute abomination looking creature that combines their movesets. It's just so cool. It's just so fucking cool. So I will be playing through that on stream. Uh, and what I'm planning on doing with that is I'm going to completely randomize everything. I'm going to randomize trainers, the trainer Pokemon, wild encounters, starter Pokemon, all of it. All of it is going to be completely random. So it's going to be either absolute heat or absolute trash. I don't know yet. And then I also kind of want to put up like some kind of fun rules or something. I am tempted to do a Nuzlocke, but I have no idea how to do a Nuzlocke. I've never done one. So I might give it an attempt. I might. Um, and then we're gonna also do the same thing with the second one later on. We're gonna be playing the second one, completely randomized everything, having a good time with it. But they're such fun games. So that is my yap about Pokemon, the long awaited. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe. And again, feel free to share opinions in the comments. Peace.